When Donald Trump began his presidential campaign in 2015, his promise was simple, resonant, and potent: make America great again. The phrase wasn't just a slogan, it was an economic doctrine. He vowed to bring back jobs, slash taxes, revive manufacturing, and negotiate better trade deals. He told Americans they were losing their country, their dignity, and their industry, and he told them only he could fix it. By the end of his first term, the headline numbers told a mixed story. Yes, unemployment fell, from 4.7% in January 2017 to a low of 3.5% in early 2020. But beneath the surface, Trump's promises were already unraveling. His pledge to revive American manufacturing fell flat. According to the Federal Reserve, U.S. manufacturing output declined in 2019, before the pandemic ever arrived. PolitiFact reviewed Trump's record and found no manufacturing renaissance. In fact, the sector stagnated under his administration. The same was true for coal. Trump told miners he'd bring their jobs back. He signed executive orders to ease regulations and withdrew from climate accords, citing energy independence. But according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, coal employment declined by more than 7,000 jobs under his leadership. The free market, and cheaper alternatives like natural gas, continued to dominate. The government did little to help miners transition to new industries. Meanwhile, Trump launched a trade war with China. He imposed tariffs on billions in goods, claiming it would protect American workers. Instead, the U.S. trade deficit grew. By the end of 2020, it stood at $678 billion, up from $481 billion in 2016. Economists warned that tariffs were hurting American manufacturers, not helping them. Soybean exports collapsed, manufacturing growth reversed, and consumer prices rose. Trump also promised unprecedented GDP growth, 4%, maybe even 6%. But the numbers never came close. His best year, 2018, topped out at 2.9%. The overall average was about 2.5%. That's nearly identical to the post-recession Obama era. Then there were the tax cuts. The 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act slashed the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. Trump claimed this would unleash small business growth and raise wages. But according to the Congressional Budget Office, the law added $2.8 trillion to the national debt. The benefits went mostly to corporations and high-income earners. Meanwhile, wage growth for working-class Americans remained flat. Trump promised to replace Obamacare with something better. That never happened. His effort to repeal the Affordable Care Act failed in the Senate in 2017, and by 2020, 2 million more Americans had lost health insurance, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. In Lordstown, Ohio, the GM plant closure in 2019 became symbolic. Trump had promised those jobs would stay. Instead, 1,400 workers were laid off. Some relocated, some couldn't. Union leaders reported a surge in depression, addiction, and evictions. MAGA hats hung on hooks inside empty homes. And then in 2025, Trump returned to power. This time, there was no learning curve, no restraints, just acceleration. In February 2025, Trump signed Executive Order 14,147. It forced independent agencies like the SEC and FTC to submit major enforcement actions to the White House for review. Former commissioners warned this violated the separation of powers. The immediate effect stalled fraud investigations, dropped antitrust probes, and deregulation by fiat. That same month, he froze all pending workplace safety regulations under Executive Order 14,150. OSHA was ordered to stop updating chemical exposure limits and warehouse safety protocols. In Arkansas, 9 poultry workers died in a March ammonia leak. The plant had racked up violations, none of which were enforced under the freeze. Trump's Department of Labor, under new leadership, reversed worker classification rules. Gig economy companies were once again allowed to treat drivers and delivery workers as independent contractors, stripping them of minimum wage guarantees, overtime, and benefits. Complaints surged. In the first quarter of 2025 alone, wage theft claims rose by 41%. In April, Trump unveiled a new tax plan. It would cut the capital gains tax to 10%, reintroduce full pass-through deductions for hedge funds, and reduce estate taxes for the ultra-rich. The Congressional Budget Office projects this will add $4.2 trillion to the national debt over 10 years. In Harlan County, Kentucky, a clinic that served over 2,000 patients each month announced it would close in May. The reason federal grants tied to rural health initiatives had been eliminated in Trump's draft budget. The cuts were framed as efficiency. The effect was a death sentence. Meanwhile, in Jackson, Mississippi, budget shortfalls driven by Trump's federal pullbacks left local schools scrambling. Parents were asked to supply their own toilet paper, pencils, even bus fuel. One teacher told reporters she spent over $1,200 of her own money just to keep her classroom functional. What do all these stories have in common? They are not exceptions. They are the predictable consequences of a policy agenda that concentrates wealth upward, erodes oversight, and abandons the working class. MAGA voters were promised economic salvation. What they received was a second wave of trickle-down economics coupled with deregulation that endangered their lives and livelihoods. Trump never drained the swamp. He built a moat around it. The narrative of revival, of rebirth through tough negotiation and business savvy, was a myth. And the myth was never meant to be tested by policy. It was designed to be sustained by emotion, grievance, and branding. But the facts are public, the record is written, the harm is measurable, and the cost of belief is being paid every day by those who cheered the loudest.